Interesting topic. Many of you will already have heard of Bitcoin, and do you understand what they are? Well, I certainly don't. So I am delighted to be joined by Dinny Collins, and Dinny has a business called Crypto with Dinny. Thank you very much indeed, Dinny, for joining us on this morning's show.
Good morning, Claire. It's great to be here.
Dinny, before we get into crypto and all of that good stuff, you have a very interesting human interest story. Your life changed very much when you had an accident. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I'll tell you briefly my story. To cut a long story short, I broke my back. I found myself living in a mobile home, trying to recover from a broken back. I had no money, and it was a difficult period in my life, but it was the pivot of my life, and it changed my life in a really good direction. So what I done was I took responsibility for my injury. After my second surgery, things weren't really going too well with my back, and initially I was blaming surgeons. So I took responsibility, and I decided I was going to try and give as much help in rehabbing myself as I could. So I became a physical therapist, I became a personal trainer, and then over a period of 2 years, I actually rehabilitated my spine to go from surgeons telling me at best I'd walk with a limp, and I went to being super fit. And 3 years after the accident, I'd done an Ironman triathlon. And then I decided, oh my God, I feel amazing. I'm happier than I've ever been because I'm healthier than I've ever been. Maybe I'll actually do this as a job now. And initially, about 15 years ago, I created a fitness business, and I just used my passion that I had got from fitness and health and strengthening up my body to help others, and it became something I was really passionate about. And that was my first. It wasn't my very first business. I'd done a business before that, but it was my first serious business.
It's such an interesting journey that you went on, Dinny. And I think it's something that a lot of people that I speak to anyway stress how important fitness is for our mental health, as well, of course, our physical health.
100%, Claire. And that's the change that it had in me. It was like, yes, I was skinnier and my clothes fit better, and everyone was saying, Dinny, you look great. But it wasn't the outside, it was the inside that changed for me. It was that I had more confidence, I had more motivation, I had more energy. I was more willing to put myself out there and push myself more. And it all came from the changes within. And that's what I really got passionate about. I was like, if I can cure myself from a broken back, sure, I can help some lad to lose 2 stone or 3 stone. That's easy. And that was the sort of mental strength that I built from the fitness.
Well, it's funny because somebody once said to me, you never regret an exercise class or a workout. You mightn't want to go, but when you're finished, you never, ever regret it. It's very true, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I actually have that on the wall of my gym. When I had a gym, we had a quote on the wall, and it said, I regret that workout, said nobody ever.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that, so I'm delighted to hear that. Though sometimes we're sort of dragging ourselves, but it's well worth it. Okay, so Dinny, after this successful sale of your fitness company, you've started a very interesting business. Tell me what you're doing now.
Yes, sir. Almost 3 years ago, I set up Ireland's first Bitcoin and digital asset consulting company to help people to understand what these digital assets are and to build what I call a Plan B pension. So you can have your existing pension. I always say to people, keep your existing pension, happy days. But a Plan B Bitcoin pension is just another iron in the fire. And it's just another vehicle to help you to, we believe our digital asset portfolios are going to help us retire early. Because for 13 years, they've been the highest performing assets. And they've outperformed everything else. So what we do at Crypto with Dinny is we just teach people how to understand them and then how to allocate and build a little plan around Bitcoin.
Okay, well, look, would you mind awfully just explaining to us, first of all, what is cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency, I suppose, it all gets pooled into one big bucket, and it can be very difficult to understand. So what I like to say to people is, let's start with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the invention of cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin has always been the number one asset for 13 years, and I think it's best to try and understand Bitcoin. It's also a little bit easier to get your head around Bitcoin, because all of the rest of crypto can become very complex. So Bitcoin, to me, it's many things, okay? Bitcoin is a digital currency. In some parts of the world, it's a currency, it's a money, it's a digital property, and it's an investment asset, and it's many other things. But it's also digital gold, and I think that's a good baby step to help you understand it. And Bitcoin is similar to, let's say, we had CDs, which was a physical thing. I'm holding a CD in my hand, I'm banging it off the table, but now we have digital music, so we don't have the physical anymore. I'm also holding in my hand now a gold coin. I'm banging it off the table. But now we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is just like the gold coin was a physical item. Bitcoin is the digital version of it. And just like digital music is orders of magnitude better than physical music was, well, digital gold is orders of magnitude better than physical gold is.
So I'm buying something that I won't be able to hold in my hand.
Technically, you could argue that because your euros, you can't hold them in your hand. 90% of euros are digital, and I understand that that's a problem or a hurdle for people to get over when it comes to Bitcoin. The irony about Bitcoin is there was a couple of amazing things that Bitcoin was the invention of, and one is that Bitcoin is money that you can own. So you can get your own, what we call a hardware wallet, and you can actually transfer your Bitcoin so you can hold it in your hand. Now, within a couple of years, we're going to have a digital euro. So humans will have no ability to hold their money in their hand. It'll sit on their mobile phone. It'll be permissioned money that as long as they play by whatever the current rules are, they'll have access to their money. Whereas their Bitcoin, there's no permission with Bitcoin. You have your money. It's money that you can own. It's like owning physical gold.
Sorry, just a second there, Dinny. Do you mean that in a couple of years we will become a cashless society?
Yes, that's inevitable and predictable. The politics is really pushing us that direction. And we're going to have what's called a central bank digital currency, or a digital euro, basically. And it'll probably happen by the end of this decade.
It seems frightening. I suppose it's no more than when we changed over from the euro. All over the years, we've had changes with money, and this is just going to be another one. So when I'm investing in Bitcoin, what am I investing in?
So when you're buying Bitcoin, we can say you're buying digital gold. So you're buying digital gold when most of the world doesn't understand it as digital gold. Or you're buying digital property. Now, digital property might be an easy thing to help us understand. Because with Bitcoin, there's 21 million. So there's 21 properties, okay? So if you're buying one Bitcoin, you're buying one of 21 million. If you're buying a physical property today and you go and you buy a second house, and the reason why we have to buy properties like a second house is because our currency, our euro, loses value so fast. And if we save in euros, if we do the age-old thing like we were taught to do, save money, put it in the bank. Like when I was poor, I thought being rich meant you had loads of money in the bank. And when I became more successful, I realised wealthy people, that's the last place they keep their money because you're holding something that goes down in value. So what we have to do with our euro is we have to take our euro out of the bank and we have to go and speculate on an asset. So we'll buy a physical house, we might invest into property, or land, or whiskey, or stocks, or any asset, okay? And Bitcoin is another asset. So it's like a property, but to compare to a physical property like a house, they can build more houses. In 10 years' time, there'll be more houses built, but there won't be any more Bitcoin created. There'll be only 21 Bitcoin. And all humans are searching for, we all search for scarcity, because scarcity is where we protect our value. And that's why gold, for 5,000 years, has been the vehicle that humans have used to protect and save value across time. Bitcoin is a digital version of that. So it's going to be even better than physical gold at storing value across time, because gold can be mined at 1%, so it has an inflation rate. But Bitcoin is finite. We've never had an asset or money that's been finite, which means there's 21 million, you can't create any more of it.
So is that the end of it, the 21 million?
Yes, it's a fixed supply asset, so it doesn't leak energy. It's a money that doesn't leak energy. The reason our euros go down in value over time is because we keep printing more of them, we keep creating more. So that would be like Bitcoin saying, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, but then five years later saying, actually, we're going to print another 21 million. And over every decade, they continue to add Bitcoin. That would devalue my Bitcoin. But I know that everything I hold in Bitcoin-denominated terms is in fixed supply. In Bitcoin-denominated terms, it cannot change ever. In euro terms, I know that my euro is constantly getting diluted because there's more euros created.
That's very interesting. Now, so if I wanted to get involved and buy some Bitcoin, how do you go about it?
The most important thing that I stress to people is education. Education is key. Because this is a new industry, people don't understand it. It's very easy. There's a lot of nefarious actors, and that's why education is key. One little tip I'll say is never buy Bitcoin and send it to someone you don't know on the internet, because you will never get your money back. So you need to be careful. Education is key. There are loads of exchanges, and these are places where you can exchange euros for cryptocurrencies, and you can do it backwards as well. If you had your crypto, like your Bitcoin, and you want to sell it, you'll go to an exchange, and they'll buy the Bitcoin from you, and they'll send the euros back to your bank account. So there's loads of exchanges. If any of your listeners need help with them, just shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to recommend some.
Okay, so you would recommend people investing in Bitcoin? You think it's a good investment? Well,
as I say to people, like, don't go to a barber and ask, do you need a haircut? For me, Bitcoin has gave me so I'm like, don't just listen to me. Go and do some research and understand the thing for yourself. But on a side note, mainstream media has kept people poor for 13 years because they've told them not to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's risky. Bitcoin's just for drug dealers. Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme. And when you actually look at it for yourself, it's none of those things. And it's been the highest performing asset that anyone who's owned Bitcoin for 4 years is in a much better position financially. Okay? So for me, Bitcoin has been something that's been giving me more freedom in my life, giving me the ability to retire early if I choose to. And just like fitness, I had a passion around fitness because it changed my life so well. Well, Bitcoin, now that I really deeply understand it, is something that I'm insanely passionate about. And that's why I'm on the journey to educate Ireland more about Bitcoin and to do a little bit of work for themselves on it.
Okay, so if you were interested in getting involved, investing in Bitcoin, you need to educate yourself. Now, tell me about cryptocurrency. You have to be very careful there, don't you?
Yes, cryptocurrency. Like when someone new comes and they look at crypto stroke Bitcoin, they look at Bitcoin and it'll be whatever it'll be, 20,000, 60,000, whatever its price is, and then they'll look at something a few steps down, which is a penny or 5p or 30 euros, and they'll think, oh well, that one's cheaper, it must be better. And this is where people confuse value and price. Yeah. So the problem that I have with crypto is that, for me, most people don't understand what they're getting into it. If you're getting into crypto, you've got to understand how venture capitalists invest. And for most people, they don't even know what that means. Okay? But crypto is high-risk stuff. While I can say in Bitcoin terms, anyone who's held Bitcoin for 4 years is in a better financial position, I cannot say that with other cryptos because they come and go, and you know it's like shiny object syndrome. Every 4 years there's a new list under Bitcoin, and it changes. So if I go back 4 years, everyone who invested into these protocols, these cryptos, well, they lost their money. A lot of them did. And this now, in today, 4 years later, there's a new list of up and comers, and in 4 years' time, that list will change. But the only thing that's been constant, Claire, for 13 years is that Bitcoin has always been at the very top of the list, and anyone who's been prepared to hold Bitcoin like a scarce property, like an asset, is in a better financial position. So it's like buyer beware with crypto. Be very careful. Get a lot more education on how to invest and manage risk.
Okay, so well worth, well, I suppose if you're spending your hard-earned money, it's well worth educating yourself and learning where exactly it's going. Dinny, do you give courses, or, you know, what service do you provide?
I do a free Bitcoin Basics, Claire. It's on my website, www.cryptowithdinny.com. The listeners can sign up to it. It's a free education on Bitcoin, and I also do paid consulting, and we have a paid group called the Retire Early Club, which basically teaches everything that I've learned over the last 15 years to go from living in a mobile home and absolutely broke with no parents to bail me out. And I didn't get lucky and buy Bitcoin early or anything, in case people are thinking that. I just worked hard over 15 years and learned how to invest. And the Retire Early Club is less than the price of a coffee. It's a 4-month course. A coffee a day, sorry. It's a 4-month course.
Okay, well look, I mean, I think this is something we're hearing more and more about, and I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about it this morning. I was a bit lost before I started investigating it myself. So if you are interested with this, it's cryptowithdinny.com. Well, Dinny Collins,